Welcome to the Water Channel podcast, a series of conversations on water, food, agriculture, and environmental sustainability. We feature stories and insights that reflect our present and are shaping our future. This is Long Wang from Meta Meta. My pleasure to host our podcast of today. In this episode, we are pleased to welcome a good friend from India, Mr. Supratim Bhattacharjee. Supratim is an award-winning photographer, or in his own words, a visual storyteller over environmental, social and humanitarian themes. His works depict the bare reality of human life in South Asian countries, the forefront of the battle with global climate change and sea level rise. For a long time, he focused on photography projects about the Sundarbans. This is a unique wetland system situating in the Bay of Bengal, spanning India and Bangladesh. Featuring the world's largest mangrove forest, the Sundarbans is a World Heritage Site since 1987. This is also homes and sources of income for millions of local citizens. Due to global warming and climate change, the Sundarbans are experiencing severe coastal erosion, flooding, and tropical cyclones. Supratim takes provocative photos to portray the impacts of these grand challenges and how the people of the Sundarbans are dealing with them on a daily basis. He has won many prestigious awards, including the first prize, Pictures of the Year Asia, and the second prize of the UNICEF Photographer of the Year 2020, and many more. Supratim, it is a great pleasure to have you on our podcast, and thank you very much for taking time and joining us today.
Thank you, Long, for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
My first question to you is, what kind of story do you tell as a visual storyteller?
Yeah, I've been in this from 2009, and from my childhood, I am deeply interested on environmental stories. You know, my maternal and uncle, they live in Sundarbans, which is why from my childhood, I have a deep connection with them, and frequently I visited there, and that is why I've made a deep connection with Sundarbans. Actually, their pain has hurt me a lot. Peoples of South 24 Parganas and North 24 Parganas, they are most affected people due to cyclones. So that is why I realized that I have to show their pain to the world, what we have been doing. Because in people do come, they don't see that kind of catastrophic, environmental catastrophic scenarios. And as an environmental photographer, it's my duty to bring those issues and present them in front of the global audience so that we can understand who we are and what we are doing with our environment. What I have seen that their lifestyle is completely different, from ourselves, because they live in the islands and those islands are completely isolated, and the islands are only connected with the boats, and the boat starts from the 4 a.m. in the morning and it ended up on the 5 o'clock. That means at the night, if you face any kinds of consequences, it is absolutely impossible to cross the river or to go to the hospitals or to go to any essential part. So from my childhood, I was extremely interested about those people's lifestyle. From 2009, I have been working in Sundarbans seriously. I have covered severe consequences over there. That means Super Cyclone Naila to right now, we have been going through Super Cyclone Yas. And I have covered all the stuffs, and what I have seen over there is unimaginable. The cyclones are changing Sundarbans severely. You can't imagine. And the landscape of the total geography after a cyclone, the total, if you see the satellite map, the total geography has been changed by the power of the cyclones. Last two to 3 years, I have covered almost 5 severe cyclones over there. And earlier, there were not so much cyclones. I've been talking 2009, but I did never see that kind of stuffs. I think the time has come now, and we have to think about our climate and the people over there, they have been suffering for the humans fault, because we are burning fossil fuels, and that is why there the coastal villages are flooded each and every year. They are so poor, they have nothing to go, and it's a hell over there.
Yeah, and so on those islands, I can imagine that during storms or storm surge events, it's impossible to make a connection. So how do people connect with the people
Ab-
inland?
Absolutely, on that time, absolutely. When the storm alerts does come, then absolutely the total boat service has been stopped by the government, and they were on that time, they are completely isolated from the another part of the land, because if the boat service move on the time, if any storm surges does come on that time, then there will be a serious issue maybe happened, lots of people can be died on the time. So that is why the government right now they have started to stop the boat during the cyclonic times, and on that time they are completely isolated. And what happened that they are completely accustomed to that scenario.
And what about the utilities, water, electricity, internet connections? I can imagine that lives are very different there. Can you describe a little bit to our audience?
Right now the internet connection, the mobile connection has been started, but it's very poor, it's very very poor. But the electricity, when I started photography over there, the total island, all the islands were completely isolated from the electricity. And right now, only 3 4 years back, those islands are covered by the electricity. You can say the lifestyle has been an increased a bit, but the main scenario is there: the sea water, the storm surges, they it has not been changed at all. What I have seen, that I took some images from 2009, and when I compared those images to 2021, the electricity does come, but electricity could not change. It couldn't save your life, because the in 2009, all of the house I have seen has been submerged by seawater. And right now in 2021, due to super cyclone years, all of the villages has been totally swept away by the tidal floods. That's when the scenario has been changed.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, these are very, in a way, very complicated challenges. And how do you capture these stories in your photos? And why did you choose photos as the medium of your storytelling?
From my childhood, I have been over there, and I know how much struggle they do for surviving their life. So that kind of, you have to understand how their lifestyle moves. And I'm just from 35 kilometers away from their hometown. So my lifestyle is same almost, because they live in the islands and I'm in the mainland. But we speak in the same native languages. It's a mental connection, That is why I feel that kind of scenario, it actually, what happened that it just painted in my heart. That is why I make a prediction that there will be some severe consequences, and I moved there and got some shots. So it's a connection. It's all about the connection, and you know, if you see only a photographer's perspective, it's not absolutely not possible. You have to feel them. You have to feel their lifestyle. Then you will take the shot that what the consequence, what the severe consequence they're facing right now, they're undergoing right now. Does really matter how long you have been over there, how much experiences you have on this field. You have a passion, of course. Otherwise, you could not feel. You have to feel them. You have to feel their pain. When you feel their pain, then photography is the one and only medium. When you see a visual elements, it it hits you hard.
Thank you. I think that's a very beautiful thought. And I'm just curious, Supratim. How did you get your first camera, and what brought you to photography? Were you born being a photographer?
No, not never, because I'm from extremely middle class family. So from being from an extremely middle class family and to be a photographer, it's very very tough. And I have a passion over photography from my childhood. But my maternal uncle, those who lives in Sundarbans, he gifted me a Kodak camera, and it has been kept in my cupboard. I put in a designator and I kept in my cupboard, and after that, I started clicking with this camera in Sundarbans. But in the old days, we have films, and I didn't have so much of in photography. You need lots of stops, you know, and that is why I didn't have anything on that way. How to store negatives and how to develop on the time. I didn't know. I didn't have so much of idea. That is why all the pictures I took has been vanished from my side. And when I realized that it's an important part of our journey, so that is why on that time I started to keep in my after shifting digital. I started keeping those photos in my hard disk. But I really missed those days. If I got some pictures on 2000s, 2000, not 2000, 1997, 1990, I took some pictures on that time. But that would be a phenomenal scenario right now. We can compare those images, and right now I've been clicking. I can make a easy comparison, and the rest of the world will easily understand that yes, in 1997 Sundarban was like this, and 2021. But I have from 2009. I've been keeping those images, and I have some serious comparison based images. And if you see, if I send to you, you'll be shocked within 4 or 5 years, within 6 to 7 years, how much the landscape is being drastically changed.
I would love to see those photos, and of course, I wish one day I would, see your photo. It's a pity that your analog photos are gone now. But let us park it there and talk about one of the most prominent projects, the Sinking Sundarbans photography series. You took photos of the communities living at the coast and show how their farming land, schools, and their very homes are taken away by the rising sea. In that series, I see a picture of a girl looking straight at me, and it looks like she's telling me a message. I guess you get what photo I'm talking about. In the background, the sea was very angry with strong storm and winds, and I see a sinking house at the far end. And this picture really show me, how real coastal erosion is, how real climate change is, and how real sea level rise is for the people that are living there in Sundarban. So could you please tell me more about this series and about this photo in particular?
Actually, the building you are seeing over there is being thrashed by sea waves. It was made on the British period, and they made on that building on that time, and his name was Sir Andrew Fraser. By his name, the name has been reformed. The region has been named Fraserganj. And look at this building right now. When they build those buildings, the scenario was completely different. And when the building was made, it was a full of good land. It was a cultivated land. And after 100 years, look at this image, and the building was almost covered by the sea waves. It was full of greenery, and right now, what you are seeing is being thrashed by sea waves. And I took this picture on a cyclonic day. The weather was totally full of cloudy and drizzling. And what happened on the day? When I took this picture, before that night, and the girl, Her name is Pallavi, and her family had a tea shop along with his home. But before, when I took this picture, before that night, the entire house was completely swept away by tidal floods on that day. When I took this picture before that night, the tidal waves has completely swept away her houses, and she was completely devastated. You can see her face, how strong it was, and that kind of stuff really forced me to click her shots. And they built their house again over there. But in this year, actually, it was taken in 2020, in August 2020, and in that their houses swept away again. They built their houses, and I was searching for her home, and finally I got her, and she has been living only 1 kilometer from her actual home, and she was afraid of it that their new house could be submerged one day.
The fact that people don't give up, they keep on building houses a little bit further away from the coast. That says a lot about how strong is the connection to the place. Why do you think people do not give up, do not move to another place, but they keep on building just close to that area a new home?
Actually, what matters that they are extremely poor. They are extremely poor. They are completely undereducated. They have a big family and they are poor. And they don't have any kind of places. It's a densely Sundarban is one of the densely populated region in India. So which is where they will actually move. If they move anywhere, they have to buy their land, but they don't have that kind of money. So which is why they are being forced to stay on that place so that they can earn something.
Coming back to this Sinking Sundarbans series, I know that it's a very long-term project. Started from 2009, it is already now about 12 years. That's a long time. What drives you to follow such a long-term project?
I love long-term projects, because it depicts the total scenario and it depicts the entire system of our society or our country or our planet.
Yeah, and if you follow the place for a long time, what kind of change did you see, and what did you learn from this long journey?
What I've seen over there, I've already mentioned that they need good embankments for their survival. If you move to Sundarbans, if you ask people, they'll reply you that we don't need foods, we don't need any kind of shelter, we need only good embankments. So that is why my journey will be keep going over there. That until and unless it will be solved.
I think that's a beautiful goal. So you would follow this project until the problem is solved for the people at the place.
I have a deep connection with them and I am one of them. So that is why it's my duty. Someone has to come out to show their problems to the world. So as a humanitarian photographer, it's a shake of humanity. It's a completely people can say it's an environmental project, but it's completely a humanitarian issue. If there will be no people, then Sundarbans, the Sinking Sundarbans project will never get such kind of values.
We do need people with a strong determination and consistency like you working on the Sundarban. Do you think there is a possibility that people will eventually give up and move on and abandon the Sundarban and move to somewhere else?
No, I don't think so. Because as I already said, they are too poor. They got their land, and right now, if they move on a different part of West Bengal or India, they have to buy their own land. From where they will get such kind of money? Because it's a, India, it's a highly populated country, and that is why the house prices and the prices of the lands are getting higher day by day. From their childhood they have been connected with water, and they are very much flexible by using their boats in the sea or in the rivers. They are they are making money by fishing or by that means by cultivating. And if they move a urban region, then what will be their earning source? I think they won't.
Thank you, Supratim. Let us move to the other project of you that I really like also. That is the Curse of Gold. That's also a very thought triggering project. What is the key message that you want to share through the photos of one of the largest coal mining area in India?
Yeah, actually, as I said, I have a deep connection with Sundarbans, and I've been capturing nowadays, and I have a on that time I have a plan that what is the cause of those rising seas. Then I researched. Then I got this idea that the people of Sundarbans are being suffered. The one and only cause is the fossil fuel. That is why from 2013, I think, or 2014, I went to Jharia coal mine. And from 2014, I have been continuing working on the stories. And that story got the second prize in the UNICEF Photo of the Year. And it's an honor, honestly. And the situation over there, it's like Sundarbans, it's the situation is completely devastated, which I can't explain in words. We are using heavy machines to extract coals, and fires are being coming out from the land, and in particular in the monsoon season, the total environment is being covered by the toxic smokes. The region is totally filled by the toxic gases, and those children, and particularly my focus is on children. You know why? Because they are our next generation.
Yeah, and these looks like analog photos. Are they analog or are they digital?
All are digital.
Okay, they look beautiful.
All the images are digital.
Yeah, and you talk about children, but also you have a lot of photos of women. Is this intentional, and what's your message here?
Yes, because I took those photos in a rural part of India. In the rural part of India, men go to the outside for work. In the morning, early morning, they move a different place for work. But for a woman, they do their all kind of work by staying their home. They cook food, they collect food, they collect woods for cooking food. So sometimes they go to the fishing in the river in Sundarbans to catch fish or shrimps. Even they work in the cultivation field. So that is why women are very, very important part in the rural place. They play a key role, they play a crucial role to stable their family, which is why from my early days I have a passion to show themselves how they are facing, how they are moving, how they are going through with that kind of disaster.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's also a very beautiful motivation. Now I would like to know a bit more about how people receive your work, and I would start first with the local audience. So the people who you took the photos, how did they react to your works?
Actually, they could not justify with the real world and their environment, and because they know they are busy by earning money or living their life. They are very, because they are very poor and they have a big family. They don't have any second thoughts in their life. Only one thing they know, that you have to earn something. Only one thing they say that I've been asked several times that hope our environment will be good, isn't it? It's a hope. I hope that it will be recovered soon. As a photographer, you have to face lots of consequences. It's not an easy job, you know. When you go there, a cyclone has been in this field and in this region, a cyclone in this has been in this region, and you are taking pictures. People are moving here, then their houses are being submerged. It's not an easy job to take pictures on that time. You couldn't ask any single words to them, but you have to feel their pain and you have to build a deep connection with them so that they think that you are one of them. Then you can get some good shots. Otherwise, it's absolutely impossible.
Yeah. Talking about connections, do you make friendships with people, and can you share some of the nice experience with the connection with the people?
Yeah, I have a good connection in Chedia. Wherever I go, at first I try to build a good connection, good network. Because if you don't know their pain, how would you depict with your pictures? You have to feel them, how their life moves.
Yeah. And what kind of reactions do you receive on your work from the international audience?
Yeah, I got emails from around the globe and some publication houses. It's, what would I say? It's a part of your job, but one thing that makes me happy, that yeah, I am the voice of those voiceless people. So that's touched me very strongly, you know.
True. And before I'm wrapping up, I would like to ask one short question about the people living in the Sundarban. What kind of hopes and dreams do people share with you about their life?
Actually, what they love to live a good life. That means they want to go to the schools, they want to work in the good offices, you know. They love to live a normal life. They want that they need a good embankment to protect their cultivated land so that they can create a farm or they can make a good paddy field. So their demand is very limited, you know. They live a very normal life, a simple life, you can say. That's their dream, which I can say right now.
Well, I agree that those are simple dreams and hopes, and yet they deserve full respect and dedication to be realized. This is a good moment to end our podcast, and I would like to wish you a lot of health and energy to continue your photographic journey, to dedicate your creative works to the people of Sundarbans. Thank you for sharing your story with us, Supratim.
Thank you, Long, for inviting me. Thank you. It has been a great experience to talk with you.